Now, Carolyn Strauss, she's one of my favourite speakers, also one of the most valuable to global companies. She talks about dollars per minute, and you can find out why that's so important and listen to the best sign-off I've ever had from a guest right now. Carolyn, thanks for being on the show again.
It's so good.
It's a pleasure to have you back.
Alan, I love your show. I love your audience. We've been together. This is our third time.
It is.
And I just love you for trusting me with your content.
Thank you very much for that. Now, off air, we were talking about this concept of kind of dollars per minute and so on, and it was really, really interesting. So just talk our listeners through that.
Okay. It is how we spend our time determines how our lives feel. Yes, who we spend it with and how we spend it. And at work, how we spend our time determines the results that we get for our companies, for our employers, for our employees, depending on who we are. I spent 18 years on the Home Shopping Network. And my life for 18 years, I thought of in dollars per minute, because when you go on air, you're told that you need to sell, let's say, $150,000 worth of product in 1 hour.
Right.
So you take that 150 and you divide it by 60. That's how many dollars per minute you're expected to do.
Oh, cool.
So I've been working now with CEOs and leaders in corporations, and I realize that their people do not have a metric. Like when I work with salespeople know what their quota needs to be.
Yeah.
But if we break it down by what are you doing this hour, is it worth your time to be doing this? So this is all about how to optimize the time that you're spending doing anything in your life. And what's funny is even in my real life now, when I'm in my personal life, when I'm spending time with my dog, there's this little teeny voice in the back of my head that's saying, is this minute worth it? And of course, when I'm with my fantastic golden retriever,
I'm sure every minute's worth it.
Oh my gosh, it's really valuable. And time spent with friends.
But how easy is it for employees to do that, to make that, make that sum work in their heads?
It's not necessarily like that sum, like, I have to generate $2,000 in this minute. It's more about us having that thought of, is what I'm doing right now worth it? It's not just productivity where you're looking at putting these ducks in this row. It's, okay, what am I doing now that's going to generate income, that's going to generate profit for me or for my employer? And what I want managers and CEOs to look at is, are they crystal clear about if their employees were optimizing their dollars per minute, what would they have accomplished this week? Most people, you read the article, right? 72% of employees are either disengaged or actively disengaged, and most people are unhappy at work. And the reason for that is that they are, they don't know what a good job looks like, or they're not rewarded when they do a good job.
Right.
So if everybody knows what game we're playing and what DPMs, what dollars per minute look like by the end of the week, everybody wins and nobody's wasting their time.
So can you make that work for anybody? I mean, what am I trying to say? Like accountancy or people working in the warehouse and those sorts of things. How do they get that idea in their heads?
Okay, we're at Disney, so let's use the fairy
godmother.
Like
feels like we're in a warehouse at the moment.
It does. We're in a basement at a Disney hotel, but but we're at Disney. So imagine I'm your fairy godmother, and I say, by the end of the week, what if I could create anything? If I could create your Cinderella's magic carriage, what would be in that carriage for you, having accomplished by the end of this week?
Right.
By the end of this quarter. By the way, if you're thinking more than a quarter out, how many people, I've stopped doing annual goals.
Okay.
I've stopped it because in January you set a goal by December 31st and you're going, oh, okay, and then you haven't hit it at the end of January and you're like, okay, I got 11 months left, then 10 months, then 9 months. Yeah. I like to look at, there's a fabulous book by Brian Moran called The 12-Week Year. Have you heard of it?
I haven't. No, I've got the idea already. Even from the title, I've figured out what's going on.
It's amazing. And so instead of breaking it down into 12 months, you break it down into 12 weeks. And then my dollars per minute system comes in. The concept of DPMs comes in. And you go, okay, so if by the end of, let's say you're listening to this in September, if by the end of November, this is what I want to get done, how do I spend this time?
So how receptive are companies to this idea of dollars per minute? You've talked to a bunch of them already, I'm sure. How do they react to it when you present it to them?
It's really clean. I've been told it's a really clean concept.
Right.
Because most people, they talk about productivity and goal setting stuff. No, this is, if you are doing something and you ask yourself, is this worth my DPMs? Is this worth what I'm getting paid dollars per minute? Or is this worth what I'm providing dollars per minute? Then I found it a really simple concept to sell. I found it a simple concept to work with, and I'm having so much fun with that, Alan.
It sounds brilliant, Carolyn. But at what level do you assess it in the company? I mean, is it for example at an individual level, a department level,
you can assess it with
function level?
You can assess it with a 6-year-old.
Okay.
You can look at your 6-year-old and say, okay, so how much is this time worth for you? Is this worth 10 Legos? And go, okay, so did you just spend? Is it worth what you just did? Worth getting a new Lego? Right? I mean, you can work with a 6-year-old, you can do it with a teenager, and then my audience is CEOs and management. Yes, I like to work in the C-suite and the executive suite, because then this is an easy concept for them to take back to their people and say, okay, so if mine was dollars per minute, dollars per hour, if by the end of this week you've achieved X, and give them a crystal clear expectation, then throughout their whole day, they can go, hey, is this where you should be spending your DPMs?
Brilliant. It's a fantastic concept. I love it. I love it. I'd love to talk for longer. We don't have time. So I'm going to ask you, Carolyn, if you can direct people to where they can find out more information, find out more about this idea.
I am at www.carolyn, Carolyn, Strauss, Strauss.com. Alan, I love you.
Thank you very much indeed. Love you too.